Hi, Bama. Thank you for joining us on When Coaching Matters. And I am really happy that you've, taken out time to have a conversation with me. And I want to start by telling everyone Bama is an ACC coach and a biker. She loves riding. So we will talk about that a little bit later. But Bama, I want to do this a little activity which we did while we were training to become coaches. So we want to start by doing an introduction where we talk about the city sibling and one interesting thing while you were growing up. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, thank you so much, Ridhi. It's a privilege to be actually, doing this, and thank you for considering me. So my name is Bama Shivkumar. I identify myself as professionally as a facilitator and a coach, and like you mentioned, personally, I would say I'm a passionate biker. I ride a Royal Enfield Classic 350 and try to go on as many cross country rides as possible. So, you asked me about my sibling. I grew up in various cities in the country, so I can't name one, and that would be very partial. So, I would say that, yeah, basically, I'm from Chennai. I've lived major part of my life in Nagpur, Maharashtra, and a few years in Allahabad, Delhi, Agartala, and I think I'm missing a lot of cities, but I'm just going to go back to Bhopal, Hyderabad, and now finally, right now, currently in Bangalore. And I have a sibling. I have a younger brother. So I'll just be a little vulnerable here. As a child, I was, uh, how do I say? I mean, I wouldn't say tomboy, but yeah, I was a handful for my parents to handle. On the other hand, my brother was this, epitome of what a good child should be. Very calm, very quiet, and very good in studies and academics. No musty, no naughtiness and everything. And I was all of that, all exact opposite of that. So obviously, my parents were very partial to my brother, and I used to get all the beatings in the household. So I felt that as I have realized over a period of understanding myself and a little bit of self exploration, I realized that I belong to the influencer category in the disc. Okay, so um, that is one word really stood out for me was center of attention. Wherever I have to be the center of attention. That is a need. And so because of that, I felt that my parents are focusing more on my brother, so I should also receive the focus. And I was always very fascinated with anything that was moving, whether it was a cycle or a scooter or a number of buses, trucks, and everything. My first question that anybody would ask me that what do you want to become when you grow up, and I would just say truck driver. That's what was my answer.
Oh,
Um,
very good one. A very good answer, I must say.
and I was never really, conscious about it until someone was like, "Oh my God, truck driver! कौन बनता truck driver? Who becomes truck driver? Who has an ambition of becoming a truck driver?" And we are this middle class, academic oriented service class family, and nobody ever thinks of any other career apart from engineering and doctor. And then my father coached me, saying that you're not supposed to say truck driver. Think of something else, which is more refined and stuff. This is about 7 8 years that I'm talking about. And then I realized what is how do I refine it? How do I refine it? And then I realized that okay, um, flight chalana is much better. More refined. And I said I want to become a pilot, and that went actually well with everybody rather than the truck driver. But you get the hint, right? It was always about driving something or the other, and for that I started out to gain attention. It was my dad's scooter, which was Alvin Pushpak, I think around 1980s when the scooters were
Mm-hmm.
launched in the country. And at 11, I started pestering him that I want to write this, and he would just start giving me excuses by saying, "Get it out of the stand, and we'll see." And somehow or the other, I just persistently, the scooter fell and all of that happened, and I got bruised, everything, but then I managed to get it off the stand. And then he said, okay, no, you have to, actually kickstart the scooter. And again, that was a challenge that I did. Once I did that, then he realized that okay, he can't escape this, and he has to teach me. And finally, after a few attempts, within 3 days I was riding a scooter, and that was when I was 11, 12. And
Wow.
so that's my, I would say the vulnerability part was that this need for attention, the need for focus on me somehow or the other, and need to do something very different to be able to garner that. And that has been, um, it goes both ways, right? It is also something which is very negative. You should not always be like doing that. Versus, it also led me to the paths that I have taken. So, yeah, there. Thank you.
That was a very fun story. I enjoyed it to the core.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and I understand I am also an influencer. So, disclaimer everyone, you've got two eyes in the conversation.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's
So,
gonna be a fun one.
yeah. So, so I wanna start. When was the first time you actually discovered coaching, and what was your initial reaction to it?
Oh wow. Okay, it's a again an interesting story, but not so encouraging as a coach for my career. But then I'm still vulnerability, so I'm still gonna share what I want to share. The temperament that I have is kind of very very how do you put it? It's kind of hyper, I would say. And when I first heard about a career in coaching, because I've been working on the facilitation segment, the learning and organization development, behavioral, so I did a lot of courses, leadership and
Mm-hmm.
so on and so forth. So I got into that niche area very consciously to build my career. And a lot of people, I used to sit and talk to them, and I was actually coaching a few handful of people who would reach out to me after the intervention of overall facilitation, and without realizing that it was actually coaching. Then somebody would suggest that okay, why don't you do a coaching session or a course or something like that. And I was like, coaches need to be very calm, coaches need to be very humble, more of a listener. And with this conversation you would have understood how much I am a listener. And so I was like, oh okay, it sounds very interesting, it's very great that people are doing. And I used to be in awe of people with the kind of they would come with that enigma, and I would be like really appreciative. But I never at that moment thought that I can become one. Never ever. I thought that okay, I am not built for coaching, and I cannot do this. That was my first thought. But 2020 COVID, and we were all out of job. Literally, I was pretty much in the sense that my all my interventions were classroom interventions. Never heard of a virtual facilitation. And then that's when it struck me that you have some time in hand, and why not just explore that opportunity. And slowly I just started looking at various school of thought in terms of coaching. And I for myself, I figured that ICF sounds the gold standard of coaching. And with due respect to every other school of thought, but I feel that ICF has a it's a breed in itself, the coaches that are from the ICF. And then I reached out to BYLD, and we were actually connected to bring in coaches to be trained or converted into coaches. Never thought that I would become one. And then I said that, okay, why not? While I am getting connected through my organization, Unbound Learn, to BYLD and getting them coaches and certifications, I thought that okay, one of them can be myself, and then I enrolled, and I've never looked back. Sandeep as my coach, I owe him everything, and I'm going on record saying this, that till this day, Sandeep Budiraja is the mentor that I can. I mean, I don't think anybody else would have been able to handle me as much as a client or a coachee or a learner as such. So that's my coaching journey, and after that, the peer coaching, and I think I finished my coaching certification ACC within 10 months from the date that I started.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, a lot of people were scaring that it takes about 2 years, it takes about 3 years, it takes about the time. So yeah, I have to thank Sandeep Budiraja, and I have to also thank COVID, and that is where my coaching journey began. And slowly, when I started doing those 100 hours that we are supposed to do as a part of our certification, I realized that I really enjoy this. And I also kind of became a little calm, more of a listener, and all the transitions just happened. So, yeah, there's my story.
No, I actually resonate with it because, again, being an I influencer, and then, I'm an extrovert. I love talking, I love yapping. As a coach, you need to, shut your mouth and you need to listen and you have to be present
Yeah.
and you have to actively listen, and, then you have to figure out, and then you have to ask questions, and, all the things happen at the same time. And even when I had a conversation where I thought now it's a high time, and I was in the coaching industry for 4 years before I jumped into becoming a coach. And I had the same, I said, I can't listen properly. I can't be quiet. I can't be still. I can't sit there for a very long time and listen other person speaking. And, I love being the center of attention. That motivates me. And
I think
then
you can very well understand my dilemma in
yeah.
terms of how do I become a coach was a big question. And then from there to here today, it's definitely a beautiful journey.
Recently, and it's kind of funny, recently I was having a dinner with my friend,
Hmm.
and he was sharing his problems and everything, and we were discussing, and my coach mode just switched on, and I was asking him questions, letting him reflect, bringing in the self awareness. And after the whole conversation and the dinner happened, and he just turned around and he said, "You know what? Suddenly I realized one thing." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You sound so intelligent."
As if otherwise we were not, huh?
And then I
Yeah.
looked at him and I said, "Excuse me, I was always intelligent." He said, "No, but you were listening for once in my lifetime, the whole friendship, you actually listened to me for 1 hour speaking." I said, "Yeah, practice
Ah,
does that."
yeah. I also think that that's the beauty of ICF coaching methodologies. The way that you are kind of injected. I would say the moment you just switch that kind of personality, and I never thought that that would really happen. So you definitely know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So what was your milestone in the journey? Because we've talked about your ACC certification, we've talked about what, pushed you to become a coach. So any
Um,
milestone you want to share with us?
the milestone is certainly the 100 hours that I logged in, and during that, I had conversations with multiple people, like complete strangers who I just posted on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, coach available, free, anybody?" And then I had three or four people who just came in, and I did not want to do coaching with people I knew for especially those hours, because I wanted to practice and see with strangers in terms of how it works and how am I as a coach. And the first person I coached, came back after 6 sessions and said that, I was clueless about my journey. I was like, I'm directionless. And suddenly, I never thought that this 6 session would really be, something. I thought that it's just going to be somebody I'm going to talk to. But then I have realized in my life what I want to do, and I'm going to do just that. And he was so appreciative that it was embarrassing. But I was elated, and I knew that, okay, fine, Bama, you didn't make a mistake. You are in the right space, and you know what you're doing. So that was my first milestone. Of course, getting the ACC certification within 10 months of beginning a coaching journey was a really pat on my back, saying that, okay, you persevered and you did it. So that milestone. Apart from that, a few coaching engagements with executive suite, right within 1 year of completing my ACC certification, and them letting me know that their business has turned around, and it is not just as a profession or as a person, but the whole output has significantly changed. So
Mm-hmm.
those have been like, people's validation, I would say people's recognition and appreciation is what we live for. So yeah, those are my milestones. And after that, it's been about 500 plus hours of coaching so far. And I still enjoy every minute of it. And off late, I've been associated with one of the universities for as a pro bono for their students for career coaching. And I've been associated with them for 4 years now. And yeah, every year it is like new students coming up, new people coming up and telling that yes, I've made a difference in their life. And I think what more milestone you would want, right? So yeah, that is something that is very very cherished moments. Yeah.
Amazing. So I heard a word executive. So let's talk about a little bit of coaching within the organization, because I know you're experienced in executive coaching and you've done few projects. So I wanted to understand, how does coaching within the organization differ from other coaching settings? So basically, you're hired by an individual in one scenario, and in the other scenario you're hired by an organization. So if you could talk about that.
So one is when you are hired by an individual, it is kind of, easy. I would say that both have their own advantages and disadvantages, but then it is always very easy because you get to explore what the individual wants. And then there is no other interference in this, whether it is executive coaching or any other coaching for that matter. When there are only one person involved, you don't have like multi directions to go on. You clearly know where you have to move. When it is an internal coaching or any coaching where the organization, there is a stakeholder, they have a certain expectation. And the dilemma happens when the client with whom you are actually engaged does not have that as their anywhere in their radar. you know so you have to kind of um, see, if I build in the stakeholder say expectation into the entire one-on-one conversation, then it becomes manipulation. And as a coach, it is, you know you should never be doing that. So it has to be very significant, the transparency, the honesty with which you really have those conversations, and clearly set expectations, because that is something that is absolutely important in both the scenarios, yes, but more so when you are dealing with in an internal coaching setup. Because and especially when it is, if say a mid-level manager or a mid-level professional, it is not as challenging because they anyway know that they have to listen to their bosses. And when you are actually interacting with executive coaching coachee, then they have a mind of their own. And and they've been successful for such a long years. that somebody from an outside can't just come in and tell them, or like say, have a conversation which is not agreeable to them. And that is where was my learning curve also. My first executive coaching with an internal setup was a little baffling for me, to be very honest. It was not easy. I was stuck between what do I do with the stakeholder, what do I do with the coachee, and that's also my biggest learning in this industry. And luckily, my conversations, which have been honest, which have been primarily to establish trust, and that is the foundation of any conversations. And I was able to do that very well. Things flowed much easier. So, to cut the long story short, to be very, one is one-on-one individual coaching is where you are going with that person. Internal coaching, especially when the stakeholders are involved and multiple stakeholders are involved, it is just a different ball game altogether. Yeah, but both fun.
Good, good, good. So, can we talk a little bit about the challenges you face when you're doing executive coaching?
I think I just shared some. No filters. It is always to do with a lot of ego first.
Mm-hmm.
Breaking that barrier, in terms of what you are doing and you're absolutely confident about what you are doing, is the first interaction. The chemistry session itself, an executive especially, either they are seasoned in terms of years, in terms of experience, and in terms of the multiple exposures level and all of that, can be a little intimidating. And
Mm-hmm.
how you overcome that, either during the coaching chemistry session, because if you fail at the chemistry session, they're anyway going to not give you any other chance. So how do get through the chemistry session is what is your primary win. After that, everything else is win. So there is a lot of ego involved. um, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can really relate to that. It's not easy to break through to somebody at that level and say that, hey, you need help, because that's where coaching comes in, right? People think that
Yeah.
coaching is something where I am not doing very well, and I need coaching to go. So that's a perception that is largely held at that level. And so breaking that, establishing the trust, establishing your credibility as a coach, uh,
Mm-hmm.
is are very challenging. And if you get that across in the first chemistry session, then I think the rest flows.
Wonderful. I think you answered my next question as well, which was around how do you build the trust and get that rapport before you start the session. So thanks for sharing that. Now that I heard that you're working with students, you're affiliated with the university, and you're doing career coaching for them. So I wanted to understand, how do you work with an individual who is at the crossroads in their career?
Wow. Okay. Um, I have been in the crossroad multiple times in my life. So it's easy to empathize, but I have learned a very important lesson through the coaching sessions, coaching, with Sandeep, is that as a coach you're not supposed to empathize also, and that was my biggest shock. Like, huh? How am I supposed to coach then? And then I really understood while having the conversation that if you get involved in whatever that they are saying, if you put yourself into their shoes, then you're not going to be able to help them move forward. So you just have to stand from a distance and then understand where they are, what they are doing, and why they are in that crossroad. So this is for your self understanding, but don't speak that out or let that out in front of them. And once you have that picture in mind, then you ask those powerful questions in terms of, why are you at the crossroads? What did you start out thinking? What were your wins? What were your failure? What is your passion? What is your ambition? And though all of them are very, very different, okay, you would for someone who knows where they want to go, all answers to all of those questions would be one. For someone who is at a crossroad, all the answers would be like multiple, different. And that's what is, then you start to shape them up, ask deeper questions in each of these areas, and then where there is consistency, then you, and also if, DISC helps me a lot in terms of understanding each one of their strengths. And if I am dealing with somebody who is very, very data oriented, then I just suggest them a psychometric assessment or a tool for them to see for themselves. And if someone is more about I personality, then I let them explore with people who are in similar industries. And then if it's a driver, then I just say, okay, go do experiment, tell me which one is more interesting and come back, and then we'll discuss more. So, and if someone is stable and still very confused, then it's more of a little bit of motivation, a little bit of encouragement to go out there and try. So it's like no one size fits all in coaching. So there is no one formula that I can really say that, okay, this is a foolproof formula and we are going to use it. Coaching is very live, I would say. I can't just plan and prepare for my coaching sessions for anybody. And that's the most exciting part also. That's the most scary part, but it's also the most exciting part. And being in the moment, feeling what they are kind of sharing with you in that particular moment, and then helping them move forward. And like I said, empathy does not really help much in coaching. You have to start understanding the detachment. So when you detach yourself, I think you are able to ask the powerful questions which will get the answers and help the clients also move from their crossroads into one direction.
Yeah. Yep,
I
yep.
think you're getting very detailed answers from me, but yeah.
No, I enjoy getting deep answers because this I take this podcast as a learning opportunity because I am starting a new career in coaching as a coach.
Hmm.
I am yet to do my 100 hours. So you are a very big inspiration for achieving my 100 hours.
Yeah.
And now I'm highly motivated. I should finish my 100 hours, faster.
Sure. Anything that I can
So,
help you with also.
so, so I take this as a learning opportunity. I love listening to stories because you carry them forward. As we want the clients to get their moment. Oh wow, I never thought about that.
Hmm.
These are these moments for me as a coach because from your stories I get to learn, and then I am able to, take it to my coaching sessions. And then if I am able to help the client reach to that, wow, I never thought about that, change their perspective, that's a game changer for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is all educational for me.
Thank you so much. One spoiler alert is when Sandeep used to also tell us about the aha moment. Um, please don't pay too much attention to the aha moment. Okay, it is overrated. I realize that, okay, because as a coach you start working on like, when do I get that aha moment for my client, and you are so completely engrossed in it, and nobody has an, believe me, a client does not have an aha moment right during your conversation. You will never get to know about it unless and until you meet them after like 3 sessions and 4 sessions, or maybe even after the completion of the whole coaching session. After 6 months they'll come and say, hey, you know what, you changed my life. And I'm like, I was waiting for this. So yeah, aha moment is overrated. And sometimes you get to see that on a coach's face, um, but sometimes you never get to see it. So yeah, just a warning on that one.
The first time I was talking to a client, and I asked them a really deep question about, and we were discussing the career of the person, and we were on a virtual call, and they said they took a break for a minute, and I mute my mic and give them the space, let them think about it. And the person said, can you switch on your mic? I switched on my mic, and then the person said, you know what, I've never thought about it, like, from that perspective. You blown my mind away, and I was like, oh my god, I can do
Wow.
it. It took me
Amazing.
another 3-4 minutes to compress everything and go back to the coaching. I'm like, no, I'm a coach right now. I can't dance.
Yeah, you do feel like dancing, of course. When it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's shift our focus and let's talk about women in coaching.
Okay. Yeah.
And so, you know, what do you think the role of a woman is in the coaching industry today?
Okay. I don't have a very straightforward answer to that one, so I'm going to digress and take you a little, give you a background story. And this was something women who bike very rare, right? Women who do X, women who do Y, and so on. Women in leadership. There are so many platforms like that. So I happen to ride my bike to in Goa every November. We have this Royal Enfield Rider Mania, which is organized by the Royal Enfield company. And when I went there, we had an opportunity. They had invited a guy called Santosh Vijay Kumar, who is currently living in Houston, but he's the only Indian to have gone on a biking expedition into the South Pole. And South Pole is always filled with snow. How do you ride a bike there? And he did it. So we had the opportunity to sit across with him and have a conversation. As any of the biking event, there were only 4 women. Some of them were not even bikers; they had accompanied their husbands, boyfriends, and so on. So, 2 or 3 serious women bikers who had actually rode their bike and came to the event, and the rest, everybody was a male. And he was sharing his journey, and all of that was great, interesting, listening to everything. He had visuals to share, and it was so powerful. And me, as a biker, I would like to call myself, but when I take a U-turn on my bike, I have tendency to fall. So, I'm not an expert as such. So I was actually planning on a really long trip from Hyderabad to Shillong, which was a
Wow.
little ambitious. So I wanted to take some tips from him. And I just asked this question saying that what is your piece of advice for women bikers who want to do something not so extreme, but at least major? And his answer, believe me, put me completely like I am embarrassed. I was embarrassed at that moment, but it was also very revelation, you know, for falling short of the word. He just said that the bike does not know gender.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah. And I was like
Yeah.
in shock. Is he mocking me? Is he sarcastic? At that moment, I was very embarrassed in front of everybody, like close to 200 odd people out there. And he just said that to me. The bike does not know gender. And he says that you become an expert, whether you are a woman or a man. How does it really matter? And that was very powerful for me, not just in the biking context. It was very powerful for me in any other context. So, to answer your question, I would say that As a coach, it does not matter whether you are a woman or a man or any gender. All that matters is how you establish your connection and trust with your client, whether it is a female client or a male or any other gender. It does not matter. If you are able to be successful with your chemistry session and the opposite person is comfortable sharing with you, um, without any hesitation, and they feel that first initially it's always credibility, trust comes later. So are you able to give them that comfortable space to speak? And yeah, it usually does happen, like when an organization is hiring, they are usually looking for, oh, we have women employees and we would prefer a women coach, or we have male employees, we prefer a male coach, as we were discussing earlier. It is there because of the comfort level. Because but as a coach, it also stands the same, that I don't have to be from any industry to coach any client from any industry. I'm not mentoring, and that's a major shift and difference that people need to be aware of. I'm not mentoring anybody, I'm coaching. And the difference is that I may need not know what you are an expert in for me to be able to coach you. I am an expert in my coaching skills, and that is enough for me. So yeah, that's my take on this. Um, Having said that, I've had a lot of people reject me because I'm a woman in the coaching field, because they did not kind of get that confidence as any other male coach would have brought in. But each to their own. For me as a coach, whether I mean, does not matter. The answer by Santosh Vijay Kumar stands. The gender does not matter. They don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So now I want to talk about something you're passionate about, and so you are passionate about helping women restart their career after having a break. So I wanted to understand if you can share with us why this cause close to your heart.
So Ridhi, when I started my career as such, I started out with a lot of failures. Okay, so I failed in my 12th standard. No, I was not a really bad student. Okay, I did not fail because of academics. I failed for all other reasons, believe it or not. But yeah, and I went into severe depression. And at that time, mental health, depression was not something everybody used to really talk about much. And then from there, I I just had a career which was by accident, and I owe it to I owe my confidence to that though. But I got into income tax office after giving the staff selection commission examination without even completing your first year of my graduation. I had just enrolled my first year of graduation, and then I had the job, central government job. So
Wow.
5 years I worked, and then I realized that this is not my cup of tea. I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. And nobody leaves a central government job, right? So 5 years into it, and then when I got married, and my husband was posted in like Agartala, Northeast, and I could not get a transfer there, and so I was happy to actually leave my job, quit my job, and say, okay, now I'm going to pursue what I want to, and took a break for about 2 years, and then after coming back, it was very difficult to get a job um, in any organization for that matter. I even tried a receptionist job, and I failed miserably. And then I had my daughter, and then I realized that yeah, I want to focus on my family now. For this moment, career can wait. And I took that break, and while I took that break, I also thought that before getting back into the industry or organization, I have to upskill myself, and did my MBA in the field that I desired, like HR. And thought that, okay, I would get a job easily. And believe me, it was not easy. Uh, I even more recently, so my job career has been shifting from one industry to one, area to another area and another industry geographically, every possible way. It's a lot of break. And when I went back into the industry, people were not very okay to take me back. No matter if I had the skill, it did not matter. 2 rounds, 3 rounds of interview, everything would go super great. And then at the last offer letter time, they would say that, oh, you don't have corporate experience. And just dropped just like that. First of all, it took lot of guts for me to really, get back into the career, the confidence. It takes a lot of beating while you are on a break. Um, you don't know what's happening in the industry that you are applying for as an insider. So obviously that's kind of very nervous, jittery, shaky. On top of it, you have people telling you that, oh, you don't have corporate experience, oh, you have a career break, oh, you have this. It was a lot of questions. And then I had it in my mind that I would do the job better than you are doing currently. You know, just give me that opportunity. And that's when it took a lot of time for me to really get into. And why do I think I became an entrepreneur? Because I was not given opportunity in the corporate world. So I thought, okay, chuck it, I will start my own company. And not many women have that in them. And that's why I feel that people should not go through what I've gone through, especially women, because today's world of virtual media and available courses that anybody can get, really the knowledge part of it. The skill is something you need to give them an opportunity to learn, right? So to sensitize corporates, to sensitize women, first of all, it's very important for me to um, coach a woman who is on a break to be able to realize and understand her own potential, whether it is career wise, professional potential, or whether it is personal potential. She has to become self aware about it. Once she is self aware, then I'm sure that any of the organizations, or like me, maybe she can become an entrepreneur also. So that is where, uh, since it is close to my heart, I don't want that people to have that perception, people to have go through that pain all the time.
No, I actually love that answer. You know why? Because entrepreneurship chose us.
Yeah, I did not plan to.
I didn't plan to. I had a very, very strict plan in my head since seventh grade. Do your 12th, do a BBA, do an MBA, get a job. So, and at times your plan don't work out.
Yeah,
So yes, I was given an opportunity, and at that time rest of the options were not rolling. I said, if this is rolling, I'll hop onto this ride and just take it. Take the leap.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
So
we are brave. You are very brave to actually do this. Um, I it I don't. I think 90% of the women who take a break for either reason, does not matter, or take a sabbatical, are not very openly welcome in any industry. Thankfully, the organization that I work right now, and I had 5 rounds of interviews with them. Not a single person from either India office or the US office asked me this question of why breaks. You don't have corporate exposure. You, as a condescending word. So I'm really thankful for those opportunities also. I'm not saying that the industry is filled with people or the corporate is filled with people who judge you based on your career break. But for a woman to find that organization is a task. And more so, my coaching is not about finding the right organization. My coaching is finding yourself. Find
Yeah.
yourself first. You may not want to pursue the kind of profession that you were doing before your break. So, reassess your strengths, reassess, become aware, become confident. And if you want to do some course or upgrade your knowledge before you enter into the workforce, that is where the women on second career coaching is very, very dear to me. And I'm sure opportunities will come through at anywhere. Like you also realize, I've also realized is that we think that there is only one door, but there are like other doors which is are waiting to open and we don't knock on them. So that is the in Sandeep's term, he will say point A to point B. So I will say point A to point B is majorly um, for you to understand what is your point A and what is the point B that you want to really go, you know, and that the point A and point B realization is what um, makes it very significant for me, because half or what more than half don't even know what is that point A and point B.
Correct. Yeah. So we're almost towards the end of the, podcast. And I want to ask, can you share a memorable coaching experience or a success stories, which is near to you, which you think was an achievement for you?
Okay, I think I've shared a lot in the meanwhile. I can't just pick and be partial to one experience, but I would say it's not from others. I went on a journey called self discovery, like it's called self craft. In at a very 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 a few years back, and it was a journey with someone who is not from the coaching industry. I mean, he is a coach, but not an ICF coach. But he took us on this trip where we were walking um, for 9 days. No techno,
Wow.
no technology at all. No mobile phone, no watch, no sense of time, no sense of anything. Just plain villages. We were just walking for 9 days, and I thought, oh, it's a walk, right? I will talk, and things will move fast. The challenge was walk in silence.
Vipassana.
And not Vipassana as such, but yeah, walk in silence with a backpack loaded with at least 12 to 14 kg and look inwards. He would put a question in at the beginning of the journey, and then you have to kind of think about your life events and analyze why you behave or why you do this, what led to it, and so on and so forth. So when you're walking in silence, there's no other way. And you do that for about like continuously for 8 days, and there would be a lunch break where we would stop. In fact, the journey had only breakfast and dinner, no toilets, no nothing, just open nature. That's all. At few places, we did find some villagers who were gracious enough to allow us the washroom facilities, use the washroom facilities. But apart from that, we were all in tents, pitching tents, staying there. So through the whole thought process of why I behave the way I behave was very very powerful moment for me. Um, and we as such think that we have to do certain things for our parents. We have to do certain things for our spouses, family, children, friends, so on, so forth. Like, and The first question is, are you happy doing it? If you get an answer where you are saying, oh, it's a compromise, oh, it's a sacrifice, believe me, people will come back and tell you, I never asked you to do it. And the closest ones. And then you will realize, huh?
That's a
So,
surprise.
yeah, it is. It's a major surprise and a shock. Okay, surprise tak to theek hai. Shock. You bent backwards to do something for someone, and the other person does not even value you. So, this whole journey made me realize that there's nothing wrong about being selfish. There is, again, I think I'll go back to Sandeep's point in terms of, as a coach, whenever we have a conversation, we need to use the word I. I think that, I feel that, I see that. At that time, as a learning and development intervention, or a facilitator, my job was to help people realize that, oh, we are a team. So anything that you say has to do with we, us, and all those words were more powerful. And then as a coach, coming back to thinking I was something very different. And I realized the power of I in this journey. Um, and so that has helped me um, realize what is important in life, who is important in life, and how do you really plan everything. And this applies to my coaching conversations also, to help the client see, um, eventually people, if things go wrong, are also blaming on others. So how can they become accountable for their actions? So I think that's my milestone, if you would ask me. And it's not something really pertaining to coaching, but then yes, for my life to really turn around and um, understand that particular 9 days, I owe it. Yeah.
Wow, that is, insightful, and I do understand what you must have felt, because I, as a person, have been trekking since I think I was in fourth grade.
Wow.
And there are times, because I used to be the last of the person to, reach the top, and there were no peers around me. So I was usually silent. It was not forced, but it was there. I had no other option. And if I started talking to myself, I would have been, people would have thought this person is crazy. But I was talking to myself inside my head, not out loud, but
Yeah.
yes. And I used to surprise myself every time where I used to reach the top, and then look back down and then think, wow, yeah, I can do it. Surprising.
Surprising to only you.
Yeah, that's true. Because I did this trek. So I did a snow trek in my 11th grade, and our school every year used to take us out for 7 days where you didn't have technology
Mm.
and you were not allowed to talk to your parents.
Mm.
The only proof sent to your parents was the photograph a teacher would have clicked once a day that the child is fine. And
Wow. Yeah.
and usually, because I was the last person to reach up, my photo was never there.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah. So at the peak where it was, when we reached almost towards the end of the trek, almost to the top, before we started going towards the peak, they asked if anyone is, if you're feeling, because the oxygen goes down when you, yeah. So if anyone is feeling uneasy, they don't want to carry on ahead, they want to sit here, there was a mandir. You can
Mhm.
sit here, and rest of them will, whoever wants to go up will go up.
Mm.
And because I was the last, I got the least rest time. because people were there before me. So they got more time to rest. I didn't get that much time to rest. So the instructor who was there, he came to me and he asked me specifically, do you want to climb ahead? Do you
Mm.
want to finish this? And I said yes. Again, I reached, and everyone was waiting for me there. And that time I felt so, I don't know, happy and embarrassed at the same time, because people were waiting for me at the top to reach the top. And then we clicked a picture, and all of my peers, really, they were happy for me and they were like, wow, you did it and everything. And that time was like, wow, I actually sat there for 10-15 minutes without talking to anyone. And I think that would have been the longest time I would have been quiet.
Yeah. I think when you're talking inwards, um, you become quiet eventually around people.
And
And
then, yeah, it
that
pushed
was
me to think I can do other things also.
absolutely, absolutely. And I am really proud of when we had our first conversation to having this conversation. I can see the transition in you as well, and I'm amazing proud.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So now, because we're coaches
Yeah.
and we're almost ending this. So, as a coach, I would like to ask you, what have you learned about yourself today?
Oh, okay. What have I learned myself as a coach? Um, I think while the questions that you were asking me to kind of recount a lot of things brought me back to why I am, why did I become a coach? Rather than just a career, it is something I enjoy. It is something that gives me a sense of satisfaction, and for myself. Whether I mean, I think monetary money will come. It's okay. If it has to come, it will come either way. But then that's what I've realized today is that why do I enjoy coaching so much? Why do I get into, why did I become a coach? Even though if it is an accidental career, but yeah, I realized that I enjoy coaching. I love being a coach. Thank you so
So,
much for
I would,
making me realize that today. That's your aha moment, Ridhi.
yeah, it is. It is. I would take that
Yes, you should.
a tick in my book.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you for, spending this time with me and having these conversations and, inspiring me to finish my 100 hours faster. So thank you so much for joining, really.
Thank you so much, Ridhi, for having me here. And it's a really great platform, and I think more and more people should be listening to these conversations, so that not women. If you ask me from that perspective, we all need that small inspiration story, and if by this conversation it sparks something, then I think wow, it's all worth it. Thank you so
It
much
is.
again for
Thank
considering
you.
and having me here. It was a pleasure and fun to talk to you.
Take care.
You
See
do
you on
take
the
care.
other side.
Yep.